What's good people? So, in recent UFC MMA news revelation, Adesanya and Robert Whittaker are now BFFs. Adesanya released a video on his Instagram of him and Robert Whittaker training together, and he posted a picture saying, once enemies, now friends, or something along those lines. You essentially get the gist of it. And this is particularly interesting because Adesanya, to be fair, it's not even that interesting because Adesanya tends to make peace with those he has avenged a loss against, or those he just feels like, you know what, it is what it is. Like in the case of Dricus du Plessis, he hated him, and after he lost to Dricus, he eventually started respecting him. With Alex Pereira, he hated him, he beat him, they became friends. With Robert Whittaker, Robert never really beat Adesanya. Adesanya won both fights against Robert Whittaker, so it was particularly interesting to see that Adesanya didn't like Whittaker, and from Whittaker's side, he didn't hate Adesanya, he just wanted to prove that Adesanya is not better than him and he can beat Adesanya. So Adesanya posting this and saying that there's no beef, we good. It's extremely interesting because now the more I think about it, what was the beef between Adesanya and Whittaker besides Adesanya took the belt off Whittaker? Fair enough, in the first fight, Adesanya maybe needed there to be beef so that he could go out there and perform the way he did against Whittaker, knock him out, have that devastating finish in New Zealand and just go bananas. Maybe he needed that. But on Whittaker's side, I've never heard Whittaker say he hates Adesanya, he despises him, he dislikes him. It's always been a thing of Whittaker saying he believes he can beat Adesanya and he wants to prove that he is better than Adesanya. It's always been that friendly, competitive rivalry on Whittaker's side. So this picture, as much as it might have the MMA world in like, oh wow, and a frenzy like, oh wow, Adesanya and Whittaker are now BFFs, the real question here is, what was the beef with Pereira and Adesanya? I guess Pereira beat him 3 times, they hated each other. Adesanya said he will be in a favela speaking about him drinking alcohol while Adesanya is a champion, so Pereira felt motivated to come into the UFC and take all that Adesanya had. With Dricus du Plessis, it was the whole who's the king of Africa. With Sean Strickland, he spoke about Adesanya's love for his dog and etc etc. So I never really understand what the bad blood, or I don't really understand what the bad blood has been between Adesanya and Whittaker. Maybe it was like Adesanya will probably say that Whittaker has spoken bad about him in secret, or he knows, but ultimately it's really good to see that 2 rivals are now friends. It'll be also extremely interesting to see how long the friendship will last because they're still competing in the same division. Unlike Henry Cejudo and Demetrius Johnson, who were in separate organizations, Adesanya and Whittaker are still under the UFC and still in the same division, so eventually their paths will probably cross, especially if Adesanya gets through his next fight and Whittaker does good in his next 2-3 fights. It'll probably be something of Adesanya versus Whittaker. Who knows? But let me know what the beef was between these two because I sincerely do not know what it was.